Mount upon you on Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Blessing of the Sabbath. Barakatah Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Asherah. Bethalanawa. Hashabbath. Bashalawam. Sawawada. Amen. Bless you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the Sabbath in peace. Thank you, so be it. Taha'ayim Ad Asherayim Akkad, Psalm 121. Anya, Harayim, Ayanyam Ya, Oh, Haharayim, Mayan, Yabawa'a, Isaiah, Yabawa'a, Mayahawa, Shaisha, Shemayim, Wa'arataza, La'a, Yanathan, Lamawat, Regalia, Yala'a, Yanawam, Shashamarka, Hana, La'a, Yanawam, Wala'a, Yayashun, Shashuamar, Yasharallah, Yahweh, Shamaya, Yahweh, Tazaya, Ayel, Ya, Yamyan Ya, Yawamum, Hashemash, La'a, Hakaya, Wayarat, La'a, Balayala, Yahweh, Yashamaya, Makal, Ra, Yashamar, Napasha, Yahweh, Yashamar, Hawalakia, Wabawaya, Ma'aitha, Wa'ai, Daiwalam, Basham, Yahweh, so water, Amen.
Psalms 121. I will lift up mine eyes unto the hills, from whence cometh my help. My help coming from the Lord which made heaven and earth. He will not suffer thy foot to be moved. He that keepeth thee will not slumber. Behold, he that keepeth Israel shall neither slumber nor sleep. The Lord is thy keeper. The Lord is thy shade upon thy right hand. The sun shall not smite thee by day, nor the moon by night. The Lord shall preserve thee from all evil. He shall preserve thy soul. The Lord shall preserve thy going out and thy coming in from this time forth and even forevermore. Amen.
Amen. Shema Yasharallah, hear, O Israel. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Akkad. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Akkad. Shema Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Hayanawa, Yahweh, Akkad.
Deuteronomy 6:4. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord. Amen.
Amen. Tapala Yahweh, the Lord's Prayer. Abiyanawa, Shabbat Shemayim, Kodash, Haya, Shamka, Yahweh, Malakwithka, Saba'ah, Batazawanka, Haya, Aisha, Ba'arataza, Ka, Bashemayim, Bethalanawa, Lakam, Yawum, Za, Wasalakunawa, Kababathnawa, Kasalaknawa, Kababathyanawa, Wala'a, Habiyanawa, O, Messiahwan, Abo, Hawashinawa, Mara, Kaya, Laka, Amalakwa, Waha'ala, Wathapara, La'aywalam, Amen.
Matthew 6:9. After this manner therefore pray, Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever. Amen.
Amen. Ha'aishara Matazawat, the 10 Commandments. La'ah,
La'ah,
Yahaya,
Yahaya,
Lakah,
Laka,
Alahayim,
Alahayim,
Akarium,
Akarium,
Alpanya,
Apanya,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Thaisha,
Taisha,
Lakah,
Laka,
Pasol,
Basad,
Wala'ah,
Wala'ah,
Thaibadum,
Gadam,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Alaquaka,
Elaquaka,
Shamwa,
Shamwa,
Yahweh,
Yahweh,
Alahayaka,
Alahaika,
Lashua,
Lashua,
Zakar,
Zakar,
Ath,
Ah,
Hayawum,
Hayawam,
Hashabath,
Hashabat,
Lakodashwa,
Lakodashwa,
Kabad,
Kabad,
Abiaka,
Abika,
Wa'amaka,
Amaka,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Taratazak,
Ratazak,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Sana'at,
Sana'ah,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Zagana,
Dagana,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Daina,
Daina,
Shakur,
Shakur,
La'ah,
La'ah,
Zakamad,
Zakamad,
Ko,
Zakar,
Asherah,
Asherah,
Lara'aika,
Laraika,
Amun.
Amun. Exodus 20:2. I am the Lord thy God which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt, out of the house of bondage. Thou shalt have no other gods before me. Thou shalt not make unto thee any graven image, or any likeness of anything that is in the heaven above, or that is in the earth beneath, or that is in the water under the earth. Thou shalt not bow down thyself to them, nor serve them. For I, the Lord thy God, am a jealous God, visiting iniquity of the fathers upon the children unto the third and fourth generation of them that hate me, and showing mercy unto thousands of them that love me and keep my commandments. Thou shalt not take the name of the Lord thy God in vain, for the Lord will not hold him guiltless that taketh his name in vain. Remember the Sabbath day to keep it holy. 6 days shalt thou labor and do all thy work, but the seventh day is the Sabbath of the Lord thy God. In it thou shalt not do any work, thou, nor thy son, nor thy daughter, thy manservant, nor thy maidservant, nor thy cattle, nor thy stranger that is within thy gates. For in 6 days the Lord made heaven and earth, the sea, and all that in them is, and rested the seventh day. Wherefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath day and holiday. Honor thy father and thy mother, that the days may be long upon the land which the Lord thy God giveth thee. Thou shalt not kill, thou shalt not commit adultery, thou shalt not steal, thou shalt not bear false witness against thy neighbor, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's house, thou shalt not covet thy neighbor's wife, nor his manservant, nor his maidservant, nor his ox, nor his ass, nor anything that is thy neighbor's. Amen.
Amun, Yeshua, be seated. Barakatha Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Asherah, Nathanawa, Par Yahagapin, Thawada Amun, La Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, Ath Yasha'Allah. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. I model upon you on your awesome stand and face Jerusalem. Barakatha Yahweh, Hagadol, Rakwam, Abiyah, Wanara'ah, Aliyah, Malak, Shal, Shemayim, Wa'aratazah, Wakol, Dabarim, Chayayim, Wagam, Hamashiach, Mayahawa, Adawanawa, Ahabnawa, Hapalah, Yahweh Itazah, Yahweh Shai, Zakarnawa, Yahweh, Barataza 1, Ainka, Yasha'Allah, Aizanawa, Hana, Wasap, Yasha'Allah, All, Nanawa, Yum Yun, Aitha, Chayawamim, Makodam, Babakusha, Shalat, Mayaka'Allah, Wahataz Wadak, Allahayim, La, Magunnawa, Rapanawa, Washamar, Alnawa, Ba'akwar, Shalat, Haroka, Shom, Yahweh Shai, Lanawa, Lalamadnawa, Rabim, Kakama, Sabawana, Wada'aith, Shom, Dabarka, Ba'asham, Yahweh Shai, Thawada, Thum Yad, Wa'iwalam, Amen. English translation. Blessed are you, Yahweh, the great, merciful, mighty, terrible, most high power, King of heaven and earth, and all things living. And also the anointed from Yahweh, our Lord, our friend, the wonderful counselor, Yahweh Shai. Remember us, Yahweh, favorably, your people, Israel. Help us build and gather, Israel. Most high, we beg you. Right now, like the days of old, please send Michael and the righteous powers to protect us, heal us, and watch over us. Mainly send the spirit of Yahweh Shai to us, to teach us much wisdom, knowledge, and understanding of thy word. In the name of Yahweh Shai, thank you always and forever. So be it. Blessed are Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the law. Barakatah Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Asherah. Athalanawa. Athawara. Blessed are Yahweh in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us light to see. Barakatah Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Asherah. Athalanawa. O war. Lara Awa. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the ram's horn to call the people. Barakatah Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Asherah. Athalanawa. Korun. Ha'ayol. La Korah. Ha'aim. Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai that gives to us the olive oil to anoint Israel. Barakatah Yahweh. Bahashem Yahweh Shai. Asherah. Athalanawa. Hashaman. Zayath. Lamashak. Yasha'Allah. Shabbat. Be seated. All right, shalom, shalom. Peace and blessings to the brothers and sisters that's listening on the live teleconference line, watching on the live stream, to the brothers that's here, brothers here in the school. Again, peace and blessings. Happy Sabbath, or Shah Shabbat in the Hebrew. Most High's will, everyone is in good spirits, cleared of all burdens and troubles and woes, and freely to come and worship before the Most High. Send up your prayers, do your charitable deeds, try to build and uplift the nation of Israel on the Lord's day. All right. This is Hayash Rala Kanas. I am Kahan, or priest Samak. And we are, Salak, 1 second here. And this is the congregation of Israel, where we teach the law, statutes, commandments found in the Bible. In these last days, more so than ever, we've seen that, more so than getting the vaccine shot or anything else. The true protection, the true vaccine is the Most High and Yahweh and his commandments, the keeping of his commandments. Even when you read in the Apocrypha, it tells you that when you take herbs from the earth of the Most High, these are the things that you'd be remiss if you misuse or did not trust in these things. But even in herb that you may take, natural things that are from the earth, the Most High is the one that allows those things to flourish and protect you and to build up your body to protect you from all different types of allergens or immunes that's in the world. So that's where we come to. That's what we always have to fall back on, is the Most High and his commandments. Put your faith and your trust in the Most High's word. And this is one of the reasons that every Sabbath day, every seventh day of the week, the Most High has separated us from all our pleasures, all our fancies and things that we want to do, so that we can come back and remember him, to not forget the gratefulness and the gratitude that we should show him for all the things that we have, from our food, from our shelter, from our clothing, from our jobs, from our families. All the things that we have are because of the Most High. And the way in which we repay the Most High is simple. It's just keeping of his commandments and spreading that message that everyone else needs to do the same. So this is the objective. One of those objectives of the Sabbath day is to come and give the Lord his gratitude, but also to remind ourselves what our purpose is. I'm going to read this in Deuteronomy first before we get into today's Sabbath service lesson. I'm going to go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 10, and verse 12. Deuteronomy chapter 10, verse 12. It says, and now Israel, right? We went through this whole ordeal last in the class this evening, as far as for identifying who the children of Israel are, who is the Most High's chosen people, right? Separate from everyone else, right? So when the Lord is speaking, when you read the Old Testament, he's only speaking to Israel. It says, and now Israel, what did the Lord thy God require of thee? What does the Most High require of us so-called Negroes, West Indians, Puerto Ricans, Mexicans, Brazilians, Colombians, so forth and so on? What does he require of us separate from everyone else? It says to walk in all his ways and to love him and to serve the Lord thy God with all thy heart and with all thy soul. In today's society, most people try to get the love aspect. I love the Lord. I love God, right? It's built up on emotion. But the first part says to walk in all his ways, meaning to follow everything that the Most High says to do or not to do. That's the precursor of how you now show love. It's action, right? So in doing those things, that's how the Lord is now going to stand for you and protect you and defend you and comfort you and nourish you and nurture you and do all the things that are required for us as a nation to now sustain and then elevate to what our destiny and our promise is. But if we choose not to do those things, then we will still continue to be in the said atrocities that we have today, right? So this is why the Lord has sent out prophets. This is why the Lord has set up the true priests to go out and teach the scriptures as it is written. Because what we've learned from this theological school, from the educational system, or from the world itself is not conducive of what's in the Bible, of what makes sense of what's going on. So we have to come out. We have to set these things up, these platforms, whether it's a teleconference line, a live stream, physically be on the corners, a podcast, a radio station, writing books and pamphlets and things of that nature. We have to do these things in order to now alert and show the people what the truth of the Most High is, right? As I read on, it says, to keep the commandments of the Lord thy God and his statutes, which I command thee this day for thy good, right? So this is a good thing. I've never understood why when we was in these secular churches, they always say we don't have to keep those things. Most people didn't understand what they were saying. Are you saying it's not good to go out and help and feed the poor? Are you saying it's not good for a man to be with his wife and no other man come and try to intervene and be with that man's wife? Those things are not good. There's a lot of things that are in the scriptures that people ignorantly say they just want to just close the book on, but not realizing when you go through all of these, this is what builds your moral compass. This is what now separates evil from righteousness. But again, we're followers of man and followers of things that seem to be appealing instead of what's in the scriptures. are set according to God's law. So this is, again, the beauty for those of us who now have that passion, that zeal to want to come day by day, every Sabbath day, every other day. You're reading, you're studying, you're searching out, and then you're actually applying and putting things into practice of what we should be doing. That's the key. You have to, any person, when you're doing any type of craft that you're looking to do, whether you want to be a mechanic or you want to be an artist, you got to practice at it. You got to put forth that effort and put time into it so that you can be better at it. That's the same thing. If you want to be a better servant, a better son of the Most High, a better daughter of the Most High, you have to put things into practice. You have to consider your ways and understand what is it that is my weakness so that I can find and apply the right tools that Christ and the Most High have given me in order to polish those things up. And this is part of doing that. The calls, the classes, the personal text messages, the telephone calls that you may have when you may have a question or something. These things help you out when you are now confused or you still don't probably see the path clearly. So again, as we get further along in these days, we have to make sure that we stay busy, that we keep our eye on the path of, to the heavens. Our conversations is where it needs to be instead of not, always out in the world. Sure, you're going to be things that comes up in the world and you're going to talk about this, you're going to talk about that, but the focus always should be in your spirit, in your mind, about what the Most High and Christ requires of us. All right, so today's Sabbath service lesson, we're going to be in the book of Joshua in the Old Testament, chapters 23, 24. From chapters 23 and 24. I don't think it's too in-depth. Should be able to go through this. It's just kind of highlighting Israel's migration into the Holy Land. We read about how the land was divided up amongst the tribes. We read about how the Most High used Joshua as our leader, and now to make sense of going and conquering these nations and then giving different tribes where they were and establishing order within these lands, within the lots that were provided to the tribes, setting up cities of refuge just in case something happened by chance and you needed to resolve the matter. Somebody can flee there, and how long. All of these things was now established in the land, right? And now we're getting to a point within this chapter in this book where things are now coming to a head, and now we've got to move on to the next phase. But before then, we're going to read how Joshua now puts the children of Israel in remembrance of all the things that the Most High has done, and to never forget and to always side. He even questions them. He's even going to question them on some of the things or challenge them on certain of their decision making to make sure that they are confirmed in their spirit about what they should be or who they should be serving as a power as after he departs. So this is what we're going to read in Joshua chapters 23 and 24. Okay, so it reads Joshua 23 and 1. And it came to pass a long time after that the Lord had given rest unto Israel from all their enemies round about, that Joshua waxed old and stricken in age. So it wasn't one day, it wasn't 1 week, it wasn't a month. This was a period of time that the Lord allowed the children of Israel to go and conquer their enemies, right? The enemies will be the children of Ham, right? When you read in Genesis, the 10th chapter, I think starting at the 6th verse, it goes into the sons of Ham, people known as the Ethiopians, people known as the Egyptians, so forth and so on. What we would call today Libyans, South Africans, or those who were in that region. All of those were enemies to the children of Israel. And at that time, they occupied the land. So when we read in the previous chapters how the Lord commanded Joshua and the children to go and kill them, right? Not to go and sit down and have a peace treaty, but he told them to go and kill these people that were the inhabitants of the land, the men, women, children, and even the animals. Sometimes you were required to not take of the spoils. Other times the Lord did allow us to take of the gold and the silver and the fabric and the ink and the purple sea and things of that nature for our benefit, right? But it was again ordained by the Most High that that land was for us, and the people in that land would then have to be removed by force, right? Removed by force, which was through war. So now this is Joshua 21 and 44, just to link up with this. Joshua 21 and 44. It says, and Yahweh gave them rest round about, according to all that he sware unto their fathers, and there stood not a man of all their enemies before them. The Lord delivered all their enemies into their hand. So there was no king or ruler or people at that time that dwelt in the land of Israel. How great a army they had, how great a defense they had, didn't matter. The Most High would deliver them into the hands of the children of Israel to fulfill the promises that was given to Abraham at that time, time ago, Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, right? It says, verse 45, there fell not aught of any good thing which the Lord hath spoken unto the house of Israel. All came to pass. So when it says aught, it's like anything. There fell not anything of any good thing which the Lord had promised them. Everything came to pass that was spoken. The Lord always says his word doesn't go out void. So if he's spoken it, or if we read it, it either happened or it will happen in the future. Nothing is not going to, sometimes you want to pray away the things that the Lord says is going to happen. You can't pray it away. You just have to prepare yourself for those things to come to pass and follow the instruction of the Lord God. That's it, right? So at this time, this was a good thing. Israel flourished under the hand of Joshua, under the guidance of the Most High and Yahushua at that time, right? So let's go back. Joshua 23 and 1 again. And it came to pass a long time after that the Lord had given rest unto Israel from all their enemies round about, that Joshua waxed old and stricken in age. So now he's getting up there in age and he's not able to go out and come in like he did before, right? He's not able to now guide or be a champion leader, or captain of the host for the children of Israel. So now he's about to set things in order. Verse 2, and Joshua called for all Israel, and for their elders, and for their heads, and for their judges, and for their officers, and said unto them, I am old and stricken in age, and ye have seen all that the Lord your power have done unto all these nations because of you. For the Lord your power is he that hath fought for you, right? So don't get it twisted. That's why we sometimes, when we was reading it in the Maccabees, where it talked about Judas, they didn't have sword or whatever to mind, right? They didn't rely on weapons. So we didn't rely on technologies. We relied on the Most High, right? That's what differentiates the children of Israel based on their faith and their confidence in the Most High over any other nation, because they rely on what they can see in tangible things. Here it says that the Most High fought for us. Everything we got, the Lord fought for us to get, right? Spoke the word, but then he also sent the angels down to come and help fight for us. The angels led us through the Red Sea and through the wilderness and even into the land of Israel. The Most High even threw down hailstones with fire from the heavens to fight for us. And not only then, but in various different times. So we always got to recognize that our true strength comes from the Most High. Don't come from how hard you work out, right? How much you can bench press, how many miles you can run, right? It's not all about that, right? Sure, those things is good. You want to condition yourself. But even if you have all those things, you could still fall before the weakest nation if the Most High is not for you. So that's what we have to consider again. Verse 3 again, it says, and ye have seen all that the Lord your God hath done unto these nations because of you. For the Lord your God is he that hath fought for you. Behold, I have divided unto you by lot these nations that remain, to be an inheritance for your tribes from Jordan with all the nations that I have cut off, even unto the great sea westward, right? So the Lord now allowed us to conquer these nations, and some were tributaries unto us. They became a possession unto us during that time when we inhabited Israel. And it gives us the region, it says, from Jordan and even all the way over westward to the Great Sea, which is the Mediterranean Sea. Go to the book of Joshua, the 1st chapter. Joshua, the first chapter. And the second verse. Ariel, if you can read that, Baba Kashah.
Joshua chapter 1, verse 2. Moses, my servant, is dead. Now therefore arise, go over this Jordan, thou and all this people, unto the land which I do give to them, even to the children of Israel. Verse 3, every place that the sole of your foot shall tread upon, that have I given unto you, as I said unto Moses.
Right, so it was being passed down from Abraham to Isaac to Jacob, promises that was made to our forefathers, to Moses, and now Joshua was the one that was being set up next to lead. Read.
Verse 4, from the wilderness and this Lebanon, even unto the great river, the river Euphrates, all the land of the Hittites, and unto the great sea toward the going down of the sun.
Right.
Shall be your coast.
Right. So from the Euphrates and all the land of the Hamitic people, when it talks about the Hivites, it's just not the Hivites, it's all of them, because you'll see Hivites in one that represents them. Then you'll see Amorites for another that represents them. It's talking about their whole nation that comes from out of the descendants of Ham that was in that region from what is being described. From Jordan or the Euphrates River, all the land of the Hivites unto the great sea toward the going down of the sun. Because when you're in that region, you'll look from, let's say, the shores of the Mediterranean Sea, the sun sets, right? You could stand on what now people call Tel Aviv. You look it online, you'll see videos of the sun setting. I don't have it set up. The sun setting going down over the Mediterranean. The Lord said all of that would be for us as a possession, right? So when we look at it now, some of it is all broken up, right? Because you got certain other, you got the Palestinians or Ishmael in there. Then you got Esau in there. Then you got Moab in there. You got the Syrians. You got a lot of different people that's now residing and living in that land. And it's not what has been described here. But this would, again, be what we were going to return to and receive in the kingdom. Read on.
Verse 5. Thou shalt not any man be able to stand before thee all the days of thy life. As I was with Moses, so I will be with thee. I will not fail thee, nor forsake thee.
Right. So the Most High said that there was never going to be a greater nation that was going to be able to take us down all the days of Joshua's life. If you think back to the time of Achan, when Achan took of the accursed thing and some of our men fell because of that, that nation still couldn't take us down. We were the ones who sinned to allow that atrocity to happen to those men. But they were never bigger or mightier than us that we couldn't take them down. Once we remove that evil, the Lord allowed us to go and conquer them as well. It's always about us and how we now serve the Most High, which now is a reflection on how we prosper and progress. All right, let's go back. So reading verse 4 again, it says, behold, I have divided unto you by lot these nations that remain to be an inheritance for your tribes. So we inherited those nations that remained from the lands that we conquered, given to us by the Most High God, right? It says, from Jordan with all the nations that I have cut off, even to the great sea westward. And the Lord your God, he shall expel them from before you. It's interesting now when you read the way in which is worded, the Lord your God, and what he did to the other nations for you, right? And when you think of how people think of God, they think of this God as being for everybody. He fights for everybody. He protects everybody. But that's not what the Bible says. That's what man says. That's what the religions state, right? All of them, whether you're Catholic, whether you're Muslim, whether you're 5%, all of these things are man-made philosophies and ideologies. It's not what the scripture says, right? It's meant to now separate you from your truth. This is now giving us real history and context about how God thinks, what he's for, who he favors, and who he dislikes, what he dislikes, Verse 5 again, and the Lord your God, he shall expel them from before you and drive them out of your sight, and ye shall possess their land as the Lord your God have promised unto you. Jump to Exodus real quick, chapter 23. Say again. Kun. Exodus 23 and 30. Yeah, come on, Baba Shah, if you read that.
Exodus 23, verse 30. By little and little I will drive them out from before thee, until thou be increased and inherit the land.
Right. So the Lord said it wasn't just going to be a big thing. He says over time, little by little, he will begin to drive out this people over here, drive out them over here, drive out them from this town, drive out them, until now over time we increase. Men have children and they grow up, and now you get new young soldiers that come in. Okay, now we can go take them down, and then we can go take them down, and then we begin to increase and flourish as a people. Read on.
Verse 31. And I will set thy bounds from the Red Sea even unto the sea of the Philistines, and from the desert unto the river, for I will deliver the inhabitants of the land into your hand, and thou shalt drive them out before thee.
Right. So the Lord said he was going to set our bounds, just like how you have state lines, you have boundary lines. So now in state boundary lines, you got one section that's over here for another people, another section for over here for this people. So the Lord did that for Israel. He commanded us. He said, look, that land I've given to Moab. Don't mess with them. They're going to inhabit and stay there. That is for Ammon. Don't mess with them. They're going to stay and go over here. So this is what the Lord now is giving us, our boundaries. And it was supposed to be for us. Go to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 32. No, I know how to do it. That's why I wanted you to do the service if you want to do it. Go ahead, Out. Come. So this is Deuteronomy chapter 32 and verse 8. Deuteronomy 32 and 8. It says, when the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance. So the Lord gave the nations their inheritance of lands that they would now occupy. And it started from when you see certain maps, and I'll get into it at another time when I go into the table of nations, but even going back before the table of nations, getting into the map of Ham, Shem, and Japheth, where Ham dwelt, where Shem dwelt, and where Japheth dwelt in the beginning, before things began to change. Right? But the Most High divided to the nations their inheritance of land where they would dwell. And then man started to now take hold and do their own thing, as far as for now conquering other people and taking their names and renaming the land for their purposes. But it says, when he separated the sons of Adam, he set the bounds of the people according to the number of the children of Israel. So those who come from out of Adam's lineage, which all of us do, have been separated. You over here, you have your language, your customs, your culture. You over here, you have your language, your land, your customs, so forth and so on. It was never meant to be a big melting pot like how society wants to establish. If you didn't have this big gumbo pot, now it's all polluted. You're going to start to lose your custom and your culture. Because now this child, or the children that come from the descendants of these, blended families, now they're going to forget and not keep those traditions. They're going to follow other traditions and do other things, or it just gets diluted. So the Lord wanted everything to be separated specifically for according to the children of Israel. We were supposed to always keep the beginning tradition that was given to Adam. We were supposed to keep that. Everyone else began to fall off, but we kept the language, kept the customs, kept the commandments. And that's what the Most High wanted to uplift us and set us as the standard amongst all nations.
Yeah, I just want to read Isaiah 13 and 14.
Go on.
And it says, and it shall be as the chase roe and as a sheep that no man taketh up. They shall every man turn to his own people and flee everyone into his own land. So everybody's gonna go into their own people and their own land. Like going back to their homeland instead of being like a melting pot.
Right. That's getting into when things kick off, right? When things kick off, the Lord prophesies about this even in the Apocrypha. You may desire to go into one land and you can't go, right? Everyone is going to go back to their own people, their own land for comfort and defense, for strength in numbers. That's what the Lord is going to now have that happen at a certain point. So it's showing you that even in the beginning, it was set up that way. And then towards the end, when things kick off, it's going to revert back to that, right? It's going to be separated, divided up, and you are now going to be siding with your own people and then trying to fight against the forces that are in opposition to you at that time. All right, one more, Exodus 33. Oh, that's where he's going? Go on, you read that then. That's the spirit.
Exodus chapter 33, verse 1. And the Lord said unto Moses, depart and go up hence, thou and the people which thou hast brought up out of the land of Egypt, unto the land which I swear unto Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob, saying, unto thy seed will I give it. And I will send an angel before thee, and I will drive out the Canaanites and the Amorites and the Hittites and the Perizzites, and the Hivites and the Jebusites. Verse 3, unto a land flowing with milk and honey, for I will not go up in the midst of thee, for thou art a stiff-necked people, lest I consume thee in the way.
So you gonna bring that, or? Because I know you want to read that. The sense, yeah, give a sense.
I'm just giving the sense. Okay. This was when the Lord was coming to Moses from the Exodus out of Egypt. He was talking about the lands that the Most High split up, and he was just saying unto Moses that he had promised to Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob that this is the land that I will give you. He would drive out the Canaanites, the Amorites, the Hittites from that land, and then we will take that land over. And that land will be flowing with milk and honey.
Right. And then one of the key things here says he was going to send out the angel before thee. Right. Sometimes you got angels amongst us that fight for you that you don't even realize they're fighting for you or doing things for you to protect you. Back then, we knew we was able to see the angels. You saw the chariot. Right. You saw the Most High send the angel and the sword divided up. We saw these things. But now, so because it's built up on faith, and the record that was there before, those things is now removed. We don't have it happen to us as plaintiffs as we did before. It doesn't happen that way now. Now it's based on faith, so that we can now do it just because and not because somebody's there. It's like when you out, you somewhere and you get into a conflict and you're timid. You don't want to do nothing, but then all of a sudden you see your big brother come or you see your friends come. Now you stick the chest out. Now you're ready to go out there and go wild out. Well, the Most High wants you to do it just because. You don't have to have that. Just have that faith that the Lord will have help come from him on high to help you out in whatever it is that you do.
Back that up with Colossians chapter 1, verse 16.
Uh.
For by him were all things created that are in heaven and that are in earth, visible and invisible, whether they be thrones or dominions or principalities or powers. All things were created by him and for him.
Come. All right, so back in Joshua 23, and we at verse 6 now. It says, be ye therefore very courageous to keep and to do all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, that ye turn not aside from them to the right hand or to the left. And when it says, be ye therefore very courageous, that's key, because sometimes you're thinking that it's going to be, you're going to go up against guns and knives and swords. Nah, sometimes it's just even your family members that you may not be as courageous to tell your moms no, or your dad no, or your wife no, or your husband no, or your children no, or someone who's close to you. You break down or you give in because you love them so much. That's where being very courageous and standing on your square comes in, right? It's just not when you go out there amongst the enemies, also even within your own. So I'm going to read it again. Be ye therefore very courageous to keep and to do all that is written in the book of the law of Moses, that ye turn not aside from them, so like that you turn not aside therefrom to the right hand or to the left, right? That, you get convinced, seduced, persuaded, whatever, to go over here and do this, or to go over here and do that, right? You got to stand on your square, which is the Most High Christ's law, and the example set forward, and go all out with whatever happens. That's what we are now meant to do. Verse 7, that ye come not among these nations, these that remain among you, neither make mention of the name of their gods, nor cause to swear by them, neither serve them, nor bow yourselves unto them, right? So the Lord left these nations amongst us. Some of them were going to be tributaries, servants for us at that time. We read about that. For those who tricked us into thinking that they were a far-off country and we made an oath, they had to now be servants and hewers of wood and carriers of water. They had to have these things now for their generations while we were there in Israel. But they were not following the Most High God. They were following their own false God. So the Lord said, don't go unto them, meaning don't intermingle with them, to go and understand their customs and culture. We have our own. To now go and consider and wonder about their gods, to make mention of their gods, right? When it's talking about making mention of their gods, we went through this before, right? Sometimes people take it just very literal. Say, see, you ain't supposed to utter the word, right? And it's not really just talking about uttering the word. It's talking about making reference as you're going to reverence their God, or making them seem to be something, right? You can speak down about a God, that this God ain't nothing. Beelzebub, man, he's wicked. But when you speak on the God as if it has power, it has a spirit, it has something that can do something for you, that's when you're going off. And that's what the Lord said. We shouldn't speak in that manner amongst our people, to plant that seed for others to think that way. I'm going to read it again. That ye come not among these nations, these that remain among you, neither make mention of the name of their gods, nor cause to swear by them. Like in the past, we made oaths and swore by the Most High. We understand how we now need to, throw caution to the wind with swearing, but that's what we did. We're not supposed to go and swear by any other God except for the Most High, or stand and reverence any other God except for the Most High. It says, neither serve them. And that's what happens in these false religions, right? They go out and serve other gods, thinking that it's the truth and living power. It says, nor bow yourselves unto them. So that's what happens when you intertwine yourself too much with these other nations. Sure, they're there, right? The Most High created them there. It's not that they got to be invisible. They're there, but they're there as a test to us to see if we're going to stand for the Most High, or if we're going to be like the curious cat and want to go and find out, or curious George and want to find out everything about them and do what they do. Go to Proverbs. Proverbs chapter 4. And 13. So Proverbs 4:13 says, take fast hold of instruction. Let her not go. Keep her, for she is thy life. And we know the instructions are the commandments. So as Joshua is now giving instruction from the Most High to the children of Israel. This is that same message here. Take fast hold of it and let it not go. Keep her, for she is thy life. Verse 14. Enter not into the path of the wicked, and go not in the way of evil men. Right? We know who the wicked now are today as the ruling class, but all of the nations at that time were wicked because they didn't have the commandments of the Most High. Right? All of them are wicked. So we're not supposed to enter any of the wicked nations and follow their ways or the practices. It says, avoid it, pass not by it, turn from it and pass away. Even within our own nation, you're going to have wicked men. The Bible talks about that. From among my people are found wicked men. Right? So when you now are able to spy out and see who's wicked and who's righteous, those who are wicked, you avoid them like the plague. Right? Pass not by it, or don't follow them, or don't go in their direction. Even though you know the Most High is defending you, even though you know the Most High is not going to allow you to fall, you still avoid it. We don't have to be all big and bad and say, well, I got the Most High with me, so I can go anywhere. I can withstand any temptation. But the Lord is even telling you, sure, you can do that, but don't even go into it. Avoid it. Flee from it. It says, turn from it and pass away, right? Pass by on another side. That's how you keep yourself unspotted. Keep yourself clean. You never let, it's like you got on some white clothing. You got on white, it's the summertime, you got on white pants and a white shirt, and you see a puddle of mud over there. I ain't going over there. I don't want that to splash up on me. The chance that can get on my garments and damage my garments, that's physical. Spiritually, you don't want that to happen too, because there's a chance that you might be weak in certain areas. And what happened? It get on you, right? It get in that spirit, in that mind, and now cause you to be spotted on that moment or in that day. That's how we got to avoid it, right? So now let's go back to Joshua chapter 23. We have verse 8. Kun. Exact kun. Ephesians chapter 5 and what?
11, verse 11.
Kun.
It says, Ephesians chapter 5 and 11, and have no fellowship with the unfruitful works of darkness, but rather reprove them.
Mm-hmm.
Verse 12, for it is a shame even to speak of those things which are done of them in secret.
Right. So when you see it, don't follow it, but reprove them, correct them, show them that it's wrong, right? Give them the sense and understanding, right? If we love them, that's what we want to do.
I just wanted to put out something. I'm going to give them, I'm apologize to my wife because I wanted to go down and help my family in the spot where you cook food at.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, she said, see, you're on different mindsets. You want to go down there. She think I'm going to the club, but I'm just going to go help my uncle in his shop.
Mm-hmm.
The Most High just cut. He in there selling shrimp and other things that I don't approve of.
Right.
So I can't go down in there. I have to correct them. I can't come down and doing stuff that is going wrong with me. So now I got to go home and say, wait, you just fight back. Not the club part. Just other things.
Right. Con. Because it weighs on your conscience. Right? Because when you see, especially if you go there, you're going to see like, oh man, look at this. It's going to weigh on your conscience. So at a certain point, even me, I have to side with that too, is where it's a certain thing that you may see. Sometimes you could be direct. You may know somebody, you could just say it. And then there's other times where, depending on the situation, you feel a way, but you don't say anything right away. Right? Or you don't say anything about it at that time. Just like, well, that's just on them. I don't deal with that. In most cases, you want to at least just drop that seed and be like, oh, I don't think you should do that, but I'm just advising you, you doing that, it's going to cause, energy to come. That's not really talking about energy. I'm just saying you cooking scavengers, you selling scavengers to the people. God don't like that. I told you God don't like, he created it, and then you get into that discussion. And then if what they here for bad, that's on them. And then now they know where you stand, right? So now, Joshua 23 and 8, it says, but cleave unto Yahweh your power, the Lord your God, as ye have done unto this day, right? So we're supposed to cleave, like grab the shirt tails of the Most High in Christ, stay with him. It says, for the Lord have driven out from before you great nations and strong, but as for you, no man have been able to stand before you unto this day. So the Lord, you know, kind of reminds us, Joshua is reminding us that, you know, the Most High is the one that put that spirit in us so that we can go out there and fight against people that was bigger than us, that no man was going to be able to stand to us, right? Write down Deuteronomy 11 and 22. Deuteronomy 11, 22. So this is going to be a reoccurring theme. It's a reoccurring theme throughout the Bible. It says here in Deuteronomy 11, 22, for if ye shall diligently keep all these commandments which I command you to do them, to love the Lord your God, to walk in all his ways, and to cleave unto them, then will the Lord drive out all these nations from before you, and ye shall possess greater nations and mightier than yourselves, right? So it says, if you do this, you're going to be able to possess nations. But on the flip side, if we didn't do those things, which our ancestors, even to us to today, have not done, look at what we're going through as a people. Look what's happening to the Lord's chosen people, Israel. The stipulation, the bar is set. It's set. You do this, you get that. But if you do this, this is what's going to happen to you. Like we read in Isaiah 42, yet we don't set it to heart. We don't really consider what it is that has gotten us to this point. And it's right here in plain sight all throughout the scriptures. Keep the commandments. You don't keep the commandments, and a blessing and a curse that comes from it.
Oh, no.
I'll judge your hand up. Gun. All right, so let's jump back. So we have verse 10. It says, one man of you shall chase 1,000. For the Lord your power, he it is that fighteth for you, as he have promised you, right? So he says like one would fight 1,000 or chase 1,000. We read that in the book of Maccabees with Judas. He didn't have large numbers compared to those who were coming against him. But once he and his army of men went out to fight, they scattered because the Lord put that spirit in them to flee. Go to Deuteronomy chapter 2. I think it's 2 and 25, if I'm not mistaken. Deuteronomy 2 and 25. So Deuteronomy 2:25 says, this day will I begin to put the dread of thee and the fear of thee upon the nations that are under the whole heaven, who shall hear report of thee and shall tremble and be in anguish because of thee. So the Lord will put that spirit in these men. And when they now hear about you, the fear and the anxiety begins to rise. And then when they see you coming, they're going to do what? Scatter and flee. We read in the curses last night or this evening, when we disobeyed the commandments of the Most High, it was the nations that now came against us or come against us, and we're the ones that's fleeing and scattering in different directions because the Lord has turned things upside down. But before, when it was right side up, this is what happened to the other nations. We would then chase them as being the Lord's favorite. Go to Leviticus 26. Leviticus 26. And 6. Leviticus 26 and 6 says, and I will give peace in the land, and ye shall lie down, and none shall make you afraid. And I will rid evil beasts out of the land, neither shall the sword go through your land. So the Lord will give us peace in the land, right? We wouldn't have to worry about animals or beasts or anything, or people coming up to try to fight against us, raising sword to come with the army. The Lord would now take all of that out once we got into the land and we kept the commandments. Verse 7, and ye shall chase your enemies, and they shall fall before you by the sword. And 5 of you shall chase 100, and 100 of you shall put 10,000 to flight, and your enemies shall fall before you by the sword. For I will have respect unto you, and make you fruitful, and multiply you, and establish my covenant with you. So we always say the Lord doesn't have respect of persons, but he has respect of nations, right? Respect of persons meaning that no one is above his law. No one is above the chastisement or the correction. Respect of nations, the Lord has a chosen nation out of all nations, and he still will chastise us. But that's what he's saying. We have the respect of the Most High that other nations don't have. And that's why the Lord has shown Israel favor that no other people have received from God. This is how you know when people speak about God being for everybody, the Lord has not dealt with everybody the same. He deals with us differently from the other nations, right? And he tells us that throughout the scriptures. The way he chastised us is not the same way he chastised them. The leeway that we're given or the leeway that they're given is different. The Lord says he'll let them wallow in their sins till they get to the height of heaven and then bring them down harshly. The Lord will chastise us like a parent does a child over time. So let's go back to Joshua. We're at verse 11 now. Take good heed, therefore, unto yourselves that you love the Lord your God. Else, if you do in any wise go back and cleave unto the remnant of these nations, even these that remain among you, and shall make marriages with them and go in unto them, and they to you, know for a certainty or a surety that the Lord your God will no more drop out any of these nations from before you, but they shall be snares and traps unto you, and scourges in your sides, and thorns in your eyes, until ye perish from off this good land which the Lord your God have given you. So that's the flip. The Lord going to allow them to be the punisher. They're going to be the scourges, the snares, the traps, and they're going to be the ones that's going to destroy us from off of that good land. Right now, look at that good land. It's inhabited by these same nations that now destroyed us, and they're defiling and polluting and desecrating the land. It has to be purged, and now it will come back to its goodness when Christ and the angels come back to redeem us and put us back. But for right now, this is what the Lord allowed because we disobeyed. Verse 14, and behold, this day I am going the way of all the earth. And you know in all your hearts and in all your souls that not one thing hath failed of all the good things which the Lord your God spake concerning you. All are come to pass unto you, and not one thing have failed thereof. So Joshua's pretty much saying, I don't got much time. I'm going the way of all the earth, meaning we all got to die sometime, right? Now is my time, and I'm about to leave. But just remember, everything that I said the Most High was going to do that he told me happened. Nothing failed. So consider that as I depart and you continue on, that you continue to put your trust in the Most High, right? First Kings, David uses the same rhetoric that Joshua uses here as he's about to depart. First Kings chapter 2. This is King David. So 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 1. Now the days of David drew nigh that he should die, and he charged Solomon his son, saying, I go the way of all the earth, saying the same thing, that once you die, your spirit goes back to the Father from whence it came, when you read in Ecclesiastes chapter 12. it says, and keep the charge of the Lord thy God to walk in his ways, to keep his statutes and his commandments and his judgments and his testimonies, as it is written in the law of Moses, that thou mayest prosper in all that thou doest, and whithersoever thou turnest. So the message didn't change. It's the same thing, right? For those who are about to pass on, when you now set your affairs in the right sense, you put certain people in a position, but the key foundation is make sure you keep the Most High's commandments. That's how you prosper. I don't care how many swords or chariots or beasts you may have. I don't care how much gold and silver you have. If you don't have this as your foundation, it will all get taken away. Right? So King David prepared Solomon the same way Joshua is now preparing the elders of Israel as he's about to depart. So let's go back. Verse 15. Therefore it shall come to pass that as all good things are come unto you, which the Lord your God promised you, so shall the Lord bring upon you all evil things, until he have destroyed you from off this good land which the Lord your God have given you. So don't forget, as much as you have it good right now, if you slip, you're going to have a bad chance. You're going to have a bad course. Don't forget that that's what the Lord set up and agreed. That's what we all agreed, right? Go to Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28. Deuteronomy 28 and 63. It says, and it shall come to pass that as the Lord rejoiced over you to do you good and to multiply you, so the Lord will rejoice over you to destroy you and to bring you to naught. And ye shall be plucked from off the land whither thou goest to possess it. So that's a part of the curse. As much as he enjoyed blessing us, when we disobey, he's going to have enjoyment destroying us and plucking us off the land that he had promised to give us, let alone anywhere in the earth that we inhabit. This is his judgment. He's reminding us of that before we get a little too high-minded and proud that we are enjoying the luxuries that we have received. The Lord said, don't forget, when it happened, don't be blaming somebody else. Remember, I told you, I warned you that these things was going to happen, right? I warned you that they was going to come against you. I warned you that they was going to shoot you down in the streets that way. I warned you that they was going to rape your women that way. Why? Because we disobeyed these commandments. It doesn't remove them from the responsibilities of what they've done. They're still going to pay for those things. But the catalyst, the why, is the commandments, right? So let's go back. Joshua 23. Verse 16 now. He says, when you have transgressed the covenant of the Lord your power, meaning to go against it, which he have commanded you, and have gone and served other gods, Allah, right? Buddha, right? These are other gods that you don't read about in the Bible, right? What they stand for, what their images, what their practices are, what their customs are. It's not in alignment with the scriptures. I know people think that it is. I know, like, people like to say it's only one God. So whether you call him that or whether you call him this, it's all the same. No, there's false gods, many of them made up gods, man-made gods, right? Gods that have been purchased. But the true and living power that has a spirit in them is different from all of that. And he has an image. He has rules that he wants us to follow, not like these others. He's separate from everything else. He's even separated the people. He separates certain law. Even within the nation, he separated the tribes. This tribe can be a tribe of kings, nobody else. This tribe has to be a tribe of priests, nobody else, right? So there's order to how the Most High wants to conduct things in the earth and specifically within his own chosen nation. So again, it says, when ye have transgressed the covenant of the Lord your God, which he commanded you, and have gone and served other gods, and bowed yourselves to them, then shall the anger of the Lord be kindled against you, and ye shall perish quickly from off the good land which he have given unto you. Not slowly, quickly. Right? So again, I always say, why is it that the things that's happening in the world today is only happening like that to us on a high level? Scattered, wherever we are, it's happening that way to us. Why? Because we just read it. We read it throughout Old and New Testament, even in the Apocrypha. It's the same message. Israel, keep the commandments. You'll flourish. You'll be blessed. You'll prosper. You go against it, you're going to be killed. You're going to be shot down, and you're going to flee from your nation. They're going to take your land. They're going to do all these things. They're going to be a thorn in your side. Bottom line. That's it. It's simple. An interesting thing about this is the Lord sometimes describes and says he has to show us a mystery, the secret things. Just this alone is a mystery to most people. That the reason why we're in the condition that we're in is because we didn't keep the commandments. No, it's a money thing, people say, because we just not, buying from each other, right? We got to go out there and buy black. See, if we buy black, right, then our environment is going to flourish, right? We're going to now build up our own economy. And guess what the Most High is going to have them do? The same thing they did at Black Wall Street. Most High said, oh, yeah, you think you could do that and still not keep my commandments? I told you I was going to bring these nations against you. Watch what they do. And they went and destroyed it and brought us right back. And we tried again, destroyed it. Tried again, destroyed it. Every time we try here and there, the Lord levels the playing field and we right back until we realize that he keep talking to us. He keep talking to us and telling us what it is. Then we get it. Now, the beauty for those of us who are now in this truth, we understand, we can see it clear. But when you was in the world, think back when you was in the world. You wasn't considering that the whole plight of us as a people was because of a dietary law and eating shrimp, right? We weren't thinking about a Sabbath day going on Sunday as opposed to Friday. We weren't considering these things. It seemed like light things, right? Some of us would say, I wasn't even religious. I wasn't really into God like that at all. My parents were, but, I just went along and they drugged me to Easter, right? I had to put on the suit. I had to put on the dress. Right? We ate the cake and then, got the eggs and all that. But I went back to but we still never considered. Go to the book of Isaiah. Go to Isaiah chapter 1. Isaiah chapter 1 and verse 3. Oh, y'all, if you can read that Bible, Prashad.
Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3. Isaiah chapter 1, verse 3. The ox know of his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider.
Right. So the Lord, through the prophet Isaiah, is, kind of, making us feel away. He's like, an ox knows his owner, right? The shepherd that's walking out there who has cattle, the ox knows who his shepherd is, right? It says, and the ass his master's crib. That donkey, that dumb animal, he knows where home is. He knows where he needs to go back to. He could be out there roaming the field, but he's going to come back to that barn. But it says, but Israel don't know. We don't know who our master is, who our shepherd is. We don't know what our homeland is. We don't even consider the things that we've been taught, the lies, we don't really consider them, right? Read on.
A sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel unto anger. They are gone away backward.
This is from book to book to book to book to book, right? This is how you know that these prophets, these men and women who now prophesy or give the sense of how the Most High feels or the judgment that's coming, they all speaking the same thing. After a while, you can be like, dang, man, this is kind of repetitive. All of them. A homeborn slave. Is Israel a homeborn slave? Continue to keep going. But now you're going to get somebody who's going to come with something else, right? You can tell right off the bat when somebody will say, yeah, God talks to me, right? God talked to me last night, right? And he told me this. You're like, okay, let me listen to what this person's saying. And they come with something way left that none of our prophets or prophetesses spoke of these things in the Bible. Now it's totally different. You're like, well, hold on. Where you get that from? Because the Most High never said that. Christ never said that. That spirit is not here. You have to be dealing with something on the left-hand side. When we say the left-hand side, we mean Satan stands on the left-hand side of the Most High, while Christ is on the right-hand side. You're dealing with an evil force, that evil energy. So it's not conforming to what we keep reading because it's all repetitive. The commandments have been broken. So the Most High is upset. He's going to destroy us, and he has destroyed us. We repent and we come back. Now we got our right mind. We have scruples. We have, we're circumspect. And now we walk differently. And now the Lord shows us favor. We give him gratitude. That's what the Lord wants. He always wanted that from the beginning, right? So it's the same continuation of how we continue to move. And we'll tell people this, but they don't want to listen. Then the Lord says, what? Read on.
Verse 5. Why should ye be stricken anymore?
Why should you continue to go through this? We've tried everything. Won't you come and take this? Try this. How would you think that all these other things are time and time again is shown that it's failed? Right? Why should you be stricken anymore? Read.
Ye will revolt more and more.
The more you come up with these other ideas outside of this, you're revolting from the Most High. You're moving further away from the Lord, causing more harm and injury to yourselves. Read.
The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint.
The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. So now when you're sick, that's what happens. You can't, a person when you're sick, you don't want to get out the bed. You can't operate fully. You can look the brother over here leaning and he's doing all kind of things. You can't function. Right? And it says the whole heart is faint. This is figurative, because now when it's talking about your head, the leaders of our people, the heart, the spirit that's in them, they do not have the Most High in Christ in their peripheral. It's not there. Something else is there, but it's not the true Savior. So Paul talks about people having another Jesus, not the Jesus, but some other Jesus that was taught to them. And that's where we are. That's what has happened. All right, so that's Isaiah 1:3 down to 5. Let's go back to Joshua now. We're in chapter 24. Joshua 24 and verse 1. Gun. It says, and Joshua gathered all the tribes of Israel to Shechem and called for the elders of Israel and for their heads and for their judges and for their officers, and they presented themselves before God. And Joshua said unto all the people, thus saith the Lord power of Israel, your fathers dwelt on the other side of the flood in old time, even Terah, the father of Abraham, and the father of Nachor, and they served other gods. And I took your father Abraham from the other side of the flood and led him throughout all the land of Canaan and multiplied his seed and gave him Isaac, right? So he kind of gave a quick summation of what happened from the time of Abraham leading up to Isaac. But there was things that happened. You go back to Genesis chapter 12, I think, and you start going, actually Genesis chapter, I want to say, is it 11? No, Genesis 12. Start from Genesis 12. Actually, Genesis 11 and 31. So Genesis 11 and 31 says, and Terah took Abraham his son. That's what we just read. And Lot, the son of Haran, his son's son, and Sarah, his daughter-in-law, his son Abram's wife. And they went forth with them from Ur of the Chaldees to go into the land of Canaan. And they came unto Haran and dwelt there. And the days of Terah were 205 years, and Terah died in Haran. So now this is now Abram's father bringing them into the land. And it was first where? In the land of the Chaldees. So you'll have some people, they're really kind of literal on certain things, but they don't understand the genealogies and the geography and the migrations of people and kindreds. Because they'll say Abraham was a Chaldean because he was called, or he lived in Ur of the Chaldees. So that would make him a Chaldean, which is not accurate. Just because you live in a region or you grew up in a region does not make that your nativity or what nation you come from. If I migrated to China and had children in China and my children grew up, they're not Moabites or what we call so-called Chinese people. They would still be of my ethnicity or my nativity, I should say. But they just lived in another region, coming from a kindred of a line of lineage from forefathers that now go back to a certain point. That's what we're reading about. We're not reading that he now switched because he was in that land. Now he's in Haran and he's going to become that people. No, he's now just being nomadic and they're dwelling in certain lands until the Most High was going to now show him the land that we're reading about in Joshua that was promised to Abraham's seed. That's the difference. But people even say the same thing about Israel. Israel didn't become a nation till they were in Egypt. So technically, you guys are Egyptians. So we're all the same people. No, no, it's not that way. We are one people of a nation. They were another that enslaved our ancestors in the region. You had your hand up?
Yeah, that's how Esau got everybody thinking now. If you come from China or Japan over to America and they have kids that's born here, they call them Chinese Americans or Japanese Americans. Wait a minute. No, they got a land to go back to. They're Chinese. That's where they're from.
Right. It's the difference between nativity and citizenship, right? That's what you read about in Acts with Paul. Paul was a Benjamite of the nation of Israel that had Roman citizenship, a man of Tarsus. He had that citizenship that he can now reap the benefits of being someone who was now living in Rome and getting all those different things and treatments that you would get. No different from someone who's now here in America. You may have American citizenship and you have certain rights that may be different from someone who's an immigrant who don't have the same citizenship as you do. That's what it is. So here Abraham left from there and went to Haran. Now this is 12:1. Now the Lord had said unto Abram, get thee out of thy country and from thy kindred and from thy father's house unto a land that I will show thee. So now the Lord is telling Abraham to separate himself from the rest of his kindred and family. Why? Because we just read they were serving other gods. The Lord wouldn't want, now he's separating Abraham, one who he calls his friend, to now about to give him a promise and show him the future. That's what now this is getting into. So Joshua is reminding the elders of how all of these things have come to pass and to never forget it. This was a promise that went back hundreds of years that now is in effect in their time. Right? So it's like us being here in the last days. Things were prophesied during Daniel's time and during Ezra's time. It's now here in our time. We now have a much clearer way and path of what they were shown in visions and they spoke about. We are now living it. That's what Joshua was telling these men. Listen, these things happened and was fulfilled in us during this time. Never forget it. All right. So let's go back to Joshua chapter 24. Joshua 24, and we have I'm going to read verse 3 again and read on. He says, and I took your father Abraham from the other side of the flood and let him throughout all the land of Canaan, just read, and multiplied his seed and gave him Isaac. And I gave unto Isaac Jacob and Esau. And I gave unto Esau Mount Seir to possess it. But Jacob and his children went down into Egypt. So now here, when you get to Esau, the Lord lets you know Mount Seir was a possession for Esau. That's where he would dwell, and that was his lot to inherit, Mount Seir. But then it says, but Jacob and his children went down into Egypt. It didn't say they went and possessed the land of Egypt. It didn't say that was given to them. He says they just went down into that land. All right. Also link up Genesis chapter 36. And 8 for verse 4, as it pertains to, it's saying the same thing, but it's just a good verse for reference when we now going into scriptures, because just like Jacob has different names, Israel, Jeshurun, so forth and so on, as it pertains to our title, Esau has the same as well. So Genesis 36 and 8. Actually, I'm going to start from 6, right? Because you read from 1, it goes into the generations of Esau, who is Edom. But now I'm going to read from verse 6. It says, and Esau took his wives and his sons and his daughters and all the persons of his house and his cattle and all his beasts and all his substance, which he had got in the land of Canaan, and went into the country from the face of his brother Jacob. So he fled and left from where Jacob was. For their riches were more than that they might dwell together. And the land wherein they were strangers could not bear them because of their cattle. Thus Esau dwelt in Mount Seir. Esau is Edom, right? So now when you're going into this chapter, going into the genealogies and the migrations of Esau, it lets you know that they had some substance as well, and the Lord gave them their lot for them to dwell in that region in Mount Seir, which is in the southern portion of Israel. Sometimes I think one of the brothers, I forget the brother's name. Yes, Kun. When he has videos on YouTube, when you see him going over to Israel and he goes down into that area where Mount Seir is, and they show the big, like, I don't know what, it's like a big a gate, like castle, whatever it is, but it's ingrained, embedded into the mountain, right? And you got, it's tourist attraction now, people going in and out of it, but it's massive when you see it. I'm not, could be. Exactly, Con. Yeah, so you can YouTube it and see it. It is big. You can watch them going through the different, caverns and things until they get into this wide area and you see it. You're like, whoa. So Esau had that dwelling place, right? So now Israel is in Egypt. Come, let's go back to Joshua 24. We have verse 5 now. It says, I sent Moses also and Aaron, and I plagued Egypt according to that which I did among them, and afterward I brought you out. Right? So we're about to embark on that. Verse 5. So we're about to embark upon that upcoming when we keep the Passover, right? Should be now, between now and then, just going through Exodus, the first chapter, all the way up to the 12th chapter. Just reading that history, getting into, because sometimes you miss certain things with the plagues and you miss certain little tidbits here and there. And it's good to just reread it and build up and just go into it, right? So that's what we're about to do in a few weeks, going and commemorating the Passover. Verse 6, and I brought your fathers out of Egypt, and ye came unto the sea, and the Egyptians pursued after your fathers with chariots and horsemen unto the sea. And when they cried unto the Lord, he put darkness between you and the Egyptians, and brought the sea upon them and covered them. And your eyes have seen what I have done in Egypt, and ye dwelt in the wilderness a long season. So it's just going into history about what happened to us, right? So it says when the Egyptians came and they was coming after, the Lord said he put darkness between us and them, right? What is the Lord getting at? Was this the plague of darkness? No, let's read it. So this is Exodus chapter 14. Exodus chapter 14. What is this darkness that Joshua is describing was between us and the Egyptians? Exodus chapter 14. So Exodus chapter 14, verse 19, it says, and the angel of God, which went before the camp of Israel, removed and went behind them. And the pillar of the cloud went from before their face and stood behind them. So this is the angel in a chariot, what we call UFOs. It was an identified chariot. It was known that this is the movement of the angels. So when we were now being led through the Red Sea, the chariot of the Most High had an angel in it, which was Christ. And he led us, when you read in Corinthians 10, he led us through the Red Sea. And then when the Egyptians began to come into the banks, the chariot moved from in front and went behind us and was in between the children of Israel and the Egyptians. That's what it's talking about. Verse 20. And it came between the camp of the Egyptians and the camp of Israel. And it was a cloud and darkness to them, the them being the Egyptians, but it gave light by night to these, the these being Israel, so that one came not near the other all night. So imagine that. So here you got the chariot in the middle. You got Israel on one side, the Egyptians on the other. So now their chariot is lighting up everything for the children of Israel, but on the other side, darkness, right? While they're there trying to pursue, right? So the Lord is now doing this to allow us to get to the other side. So then when that's done, the Lord said, okay, I'm done now, and removed, and then the Egyptians die in the Red Sea, right? So this is what now the Most High is now, Joshua is reminding us of that history. So again, when we start looking at tidbits, these things is left out of movies. You don't see this in 10 Commandments and other these adaptations of what's in the scriptures, because they would have to have answers for things that they have been covering up for so long, right? All of these different Area 51 and all these other different places where they got that. If they put that in the movies that shows, hey, there was a chariot then. Why was there a chariot then? Why was the chariot defending the children of Israel, protecting them, but then causing harm to the answers have to come out. So they have to leave that part out. That's what they call a director's cut. The stuff that fall on the floor that you can't put in the movies. We get in the true director's cut here in the Bible, right? Was it my doctor was just telling me they got this what is it, the Justice League? They got a Justice League. I haven't seen it, but they got the Justice League movie. The original one, I don't know, maybe it was about an hour or 2 hours. The director's cut is 4 hours, or over 4 hours long, because there's so much other information and context in there to now make you say, oh, okay, I get it now. It makes sense. The before it didn't make sense. You got the abridged version, and they embellished on certain things and kept out information and changed the faces. This is the director's cut here. So now let's go back, Joshua 24, and we have verse 8. And I brought you into the land of the Amorites, which dwelt on the other side of Jordan, and they fought with you. And I gave them into your hand that ye might possess their land, and I destroyed them from before you. So again, like we're talking about the Hivites and the Amorites and the Perizzites, they're dwelling all throughout the land of Canaan, which will become the land of Israel, but they're just in different regions. And the Lord is allowing us to go and conquer them. Verse 9, then Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, arose and warred against Israel and sent and called Balaam, the son of Beor, to curse you. So you read about this in the book of Numbers, 21, 22, 23, in that area. You read the storyline where you had this Moabite who wanted to use this man to come and curse Israel. Because, you know, you got people who deal with those types of left-handed witchcraft and sorcery and things of that nature. So if I can get this guy to curse them, we would have the upper hand to go and take them down. But we know the storyline where the Most High didn't allow Balaam to do that. He checked Balaam. So what are you talking about? What are you doing? You can't curse this people, right? And change his spirit. So what now, instead of cursing, he blessed us and had to go back to Balak and get a report, and that caused dissension between them, right? So now reading again, verse 9. Then Balak, the son of Zippor, king of Moab, arose and warred against Israel and sent and called Balaam, the son of Beor, to curse you. But I would not hearken unto Balaam, Therefore he blessed you still, so I delivered you out of his hand. We find this verse in Numbers. Numbers 23 and 23. Numbers chapter 23, verse 23. So it says, surely there is no enchantment against Jacob, neither is there any divination against Israel. So if you're in the right spirit, if we are keeping the commandments of the Most High, walking in all his paths like he ordained to the best of our ability, the Lord says no one can come and do any enchantment against you. No one can come and put any divination against you. That's what you see these people, they go and use all different kind of witchcraft from voodoo and Santeria to come and put a curse or a hex on people. Those things are true. There are different things on the left-hand side, but it happens to those when you do not fall in line with the Most High's commandment. He allows Satan to do these things to you as your punishment or your judgment. But all the day long, when you got a righteous man standing before them, who is in the spirit of the Most High, what they can call and chant and do whatever they want, it will be of none effect. That is now what you stand on in your faith. There's many times we've been out at camps and you get people who don't agree with the scriptures and they're literally cursing you out with all kind of profanities. And then they're setting up their own types of curses that they think is going to reach to the Most High to come and do something to us. They don't know the scriptures. They don't know how the Most High feels about the apple of his eye or his chosen. There shall be no enchantment, no divination. And once you begin to fear those things, you doubt that the Most High is now covering you from a lot of that stuff. Once you doubt it, then you opening yourself up to it. I've seen it happen, right? Brothers start to get a little weary and weak, and yo, he did this, and I seen him doing this with his hands and his fingers. So what? Can do all kind of things with their hands and fingers. You got the Most High behind you. You got Christ behind you. What do you think? They're going to allow that to? No, right? It says, according to this, it shall be said of Jacob and of Israel, what have God wrought? Of the people of the Most High, they different. That stuff don't work on them. What did the Most High do to them that's different from everybody else? That's the question that they would begin to ask. It worked when I call an enchantment on him, but when I do that, nothing happens. What did God do? Put it in them. Verse 24, behold, the people shall rise up as a great lion and lift up himself as a young lion. He shall not lie down until he eat of the prey and drink the blood of the slain. That's what was now said or known about us, Israel. Even during the time of Balaam, when he tried to come and curse us, and the Lord had to check that spirit and let him know they different. Can't do that to them. All right, let's go back to Joshua. We're in verse 10 now. It says, but I would not hearken unto Balaam. Therefore he blessed you still. So I delivered you out of his hand. And you went over Jordan and came unto Jericho. And the men of Jericho fought against you, the Amorites and the Perizzites and the Canaanites and the Hittites and the Girgashites and the Hivites and the Jebusites. And I delivered them into your hand. All these different Hamitic people came out. Wherever we went, they was coming out, right? They got weapons, they had all that. But guess what? Didn't matter. The Lord delivered them into the hands of our ancient ancestors back then. And it's reminding that he can and will do the same thing in days to come, right? Verse 12, and I sent the hornet before you, which drave them out from before you, even the two kings of the Amorites, but not with thy sword, nor with thy belt. So now the Lord lets you know that he can fight. He can use the elements to come and help defend you, right? He can use the elements, the animals, the insects, right? To come and defend and fight. I got to find the video. I'll probably have to get it. I have to find it for, hopefully for the Pesach. Like when you look at the plagues, and there was a plague of mice and whatever, I seen the video of a city or whatever that was overcome by, you saw it?
I saw.
Overcome by mice.
Oh, it's
Mice. It is crazy. They were everywhere. Like you couldn't walk. It was running all over. Like the video, if they were here, they'd be all over me. They'd be all over everything. So it made me, when I seen the visual, it made me to think about that and say, oh yeah, they was really going through something, right? Because mice, you know, they just don't, they running around and they carry certain things with them, diseases and things, and they eating, they like locusts. They'll go and eat and all that kind of thing. But just the idea of them all over the place, running up on walls, running over here, because you know they got little feet that they can climb things. They was everywhere in this video. I'm gonna find it and bring it to Most High when we do the service for the Pesach that we bring it out.
But Esau now have his big military. He covered the air, the land, and the sea. And he thinks he's so mighty now that nothing can conquer.
Right. That's what we was going into in the classes, even as far as for the pride that they have, right? But they trust in their weapons. This is 2 Maccabees chapter 8 to what you said as far as for, you know, all the things that they have. 2 Maccabees chapter 8. And 18, right? As far as the pride that Esau has with their military and their weapons and might and things of that nature. It says 2 Maccabees 8:18, for they, said he, trust in their weapons and boldness, talking about the Romans and the Greeks at that time. They trust in that, right? It says, but our confidence is in the Almighty God, who at a beck can cast down both them that come against us and also all the world. So anybody who's coming against us at that moment, and then those who not even in our peripheral, they come in, the Lord can take them all down with just his word being spoken, right? While they come in with their laser beams and, you know, gas this and all, doesn't matter. All of that will just fall with them holding it. So that's kind of where we now need to put our confidence right back with the Most High God. So now let's go back to Joshua 24 and 13. And I have given you a land for which ye did not labor, and cities which ye built not, and ye dwell in them, of the vineyards and of the olive yards which ye planted not, do ye eat. So he's like, look, I set the table for you. You ain't have to prepare nothing. You just came down and everything was there for you. I put a nice food there and I did nice drinks. But that's how the land looked to us. Wow, look at those trees. Wow, look at that river. Wow, look at this. Man, this is going to be great. We didn't have to toil and build it up. The Lord already had the Hamites dwell there, and we came and took them out of the way, and now it was left for us. Verse 14. Now, therefore, fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth. That's very key. Sincerity and in truth, right? The two go hand in hand. Cool. You can now, you know, the truth is the law, right? The law and the testimonies that come with it. Then you now have to follow this in sincerity. You can't be forced. You can't force nobody to keep this. You have to be a willing participant to do this. Right? But now, if you choose not, the opportunity is offered to you. The Lord sets the table and says, the same way I love to multiply you and I enjoy doing it, I'm going to enjoy spanking that behind. I'm going to enjoy taking you up off this earth as much as you continue to disobey me. So those are the consequences. But here we're seeing that we didn't have to do much. And he gave us, imagine that. If he kind of gave us a small glimpse of what it was, but then that day is going to be on a whole nother level. So that's what we now, you know, wait patiently for those promises to fulfill, for that glory to be given. Verse 14 again. Now therefore fear the Lord and serve him in sincerity and in truth, and put away the gods which your fathers served on the other side of the flood and in Egypt, and serve ye the Lord. Right? So if any of you had an inkling of these other gods of the nations, put that away. Look what you got. Don't give it up. Right? That's what it's saying. Look what you got. Look what was given to you. You ain't do nothing and he blessed you. Don't give it away. 15. And if it seem evil unto you to serve the Lord, choose you this day whom you will serve, whether the gods which your father served that were on the other side of the flood, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you dwell. But as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. So the option is there. But if any of you think, nah, man, that's just too hard, man. That's just too much, right? And you want to go serve the gods that you served, that our ancestors served in Egypt, or the gods of the Amorites, these Semitic nations now, you decide on that. But as for me and my house, as it says up on the banner, we're going to serve the Most High. I'm just letting you know that. I've already made my decision, right? That's what this is saying. Verse 16, and the people answered and said, God forbid that we should forsake the Lord to serve other gods. So as he's saying that, and now they have to retort, what are you talking about, Joshua? God forbid for us to ever go and do those things. But we know the story after the fact, right? Sound good coming out of the mouth at that point, but time passed, the thorns and the snares were there, and it caused us to go off, right? Verse 17, for the Lord our God, he it is that brought us up and our fathers out of the land of Egypt from the house of bondage, and which did those great signs in our sight, and preserved us in all the way wherein we went, and among all the people through whom we passed. And the Lord drave out from before us all the people, even the Amorites, which dwelt in the land. Therefore will we also serve the Lord, for he is our power, right? So they gave a nice dissertation. So we're going to do right along with you, Joshua. We also going to serve the Most High. But Joshua was a bit more cynical about his people, right? Verse 20. So like verse 19. And Joshua said unto the people, ye cannot serve the Lord, for he is an holy God. He is a jealous power. He will not forgive your transgressions nor your sins. If you forsake the Lord and serve strange gods, then he will turn and do you hurt and consume you. After that, he have done you good. So now Joshua like, look, y'all can't serve the Most High, man. I see how y'all are. So he's now pressing on them, right? They saying one thing, but he's like, I'm gonna see if they for real, right? If they sincere, if they for real about this. So he said, listen, I don't think this for you. And they look like, what? What do you mean this ain't for us? Look what we got. Nah, this for us. Josh, what are you talking about? Don't come at us like that, right? So now they got to answer back. Verse 21, and the people said unto Joshua, nay, la'ah, but we will serve the Lord. Nah, Joshua, don't come at us like that. We're going to serve the Most High. We good. We got this, right? Don't think about us like that, right? Verse 22, and Joshua said unto the people, ye are witnesses against yourselves that ye have chosen you, the Lord, to serve him. And they said, we are witnesses. So we're witnesses to ourselves. That's what Joshua is saying. Just what y'all saying. Y'all hear what this is out of your own mouth. Yeah, we the witness. We see, yep, you heard it. Yeah, we heard it. Yep, we all agree, right? It's good when it's good. When it goes bad, that's what Joshua was wanting. He didn't want to leave. You know, no one saying, well, we didn't really get it like that. Like no one explained it that if we didn't serve the Most High, that these things was good. No, Joshua is driving it to the head. Like, I need y'all to understand. You're a witness to yourself. Verse 23. Now, therefore, put away, said he, the strange gods which are among you, and incline your heart unto the Lord God power of Israel. So now you're saying that you affirm. Make sure that you go amongst the rest of your people and have them put away those strange gods. Some of them got them. Yeah, some of y'all got them. I know it. That's what Josh was saying. I know y'all got it. Y'all all affirm it, because remember, these are the leaders, the heads, the chiefs of the nation. It wasn't the whole nation standing right there, but the leaders of those families and kindreds and peoples and soldiers. So now they agree. Okay, now y'all go through the midst of the rest and clean house. Make sure everyone is in accordance with the agreement. Verse 24, and the people said unto Joshua, the Lord our power we will serve, and his voice we will obey. So Joshua made a covenant with the people that day and set them a statute and an ordinance in Shechem. So now that was like another agreement for that region. Like, this is monumental here in the land of Shechem. Now that I'm about to die, I'm about to leave this place, everybody will remember that our ancestors again reaffirmed right here in Shechem, witnesses to each other. And to confirm it, it says, verse 26, and Joshua wrote these words in the book of the law of God, and took a great stone and set it up there under an oak that was by the sanctuary of the Lord. And Joshua said unto all the people, behold, this stone shall be a witness unto us. It's like a memorial. For it hath heard all the words of the Lord which he spake unto us. It shall be therefore a witness unto you, lest ye deny your power. So now it's like, you got the stone there. And it's funny because the way Joshua words it is like it got a spirit in it. This stone heard you say that, right? It's a witness now. So now when you come back and you are in this land, it's a reminder. Yeah, look, it's even written on the stone, man. We can't say that we didn't do it. It's right there under this oak in this ranch. And Joshua, his last words to us was right here, right? So there's no getting around it. Verse 28. So Joshua let the people depart, every man unto his inheritance. And it came to pass after these things that Joshua the son of Nun, the servant of the Lord, died, being 110 years old, right? So 110 years old, and still had the spirit in him to set all these things in order, remind the children of Israel what things needed to be done, had a good mind to do that. Wasn't physically fit, but his mind was right in the right place to set these things and affairs in order, right? That's what you repetitively see with righteous men. When their time is near, they kind of know that they can't go in and out like they were before, or the Lord sends an angel to tell them that they're going to leave. They begin to set things in order, right? And that's kind of an example left for us that we would do the same thing, right? Put your children or put your family or put things in remembrance of what we had agreed to, and then set orders in a right. King David did that with Solomon, right? He warned him about keeping the commandments of the Most High, never forgetting the Lord. And then he went into what things Solomon needed to do, right? In his time, right? That guy over there, yeah, that guy right there. Watch that guy. This guy such and such. Make sure you keep him over here. All that is now the carryover in the changing of the guard. Verse 30, and they buried him in the border of his inheritance in Timnath-serah, which is in Mount Ephraim on the north side of the hill of Gaash, right? So when you read back in the 19th chapter, when we were dividing up the lot, Joshua was given his lot, and that's where they buried him. Go back to 19 and 49. Joshua chapter 19 and verse 49. And it reads, it says, when they had made an end of dividing the land for inheritance by their coasts, the children of Israel gave an inheritance to Joshua, the son of Nun, among them. According to the word of the Lord, they gave him the city which he asked, even Timnath-serah in Mount Ephraim. And he built the city and dwelt therein, right? So now here it is, that land that he asked for, the Most High gave the order. That's what he gonna get. And then now he built up the city under his name, right? How he wanted it, right? It was established and had certain things, but he went and did it how he wanted to do, right? And that's what now he is being buried in his own city. So let's go back. So verse 30 again, and they buried him in the border of his inheritance, not in the city, but in the border. Where at on the border? It says, which is in Mount Ephraim on the north side of the hill of Gash, right? So on the hill on the north side, that's where they buried him, right? And you would probably, you know, historians, those who, you know, research the scriptures, I'm pretty sure all of these places where righteous men died, they went and gone there and try to find that place to go dig it up or find the bones of these men and then put it somewhere. Because in their mind, sometimes they'll look at having their carcass or having their bodies brings them power or energy, because that's kind of what they think about. That's why you have certain people who have these crypts and they go down and they go into the crypts and they speak to the dead bodies to get guidance. That's not how we operate, right? That's what they do. That's how these other philosophies and doctrines of other nations, that's their rituals. We don't do that. Exactly. So verse 32. So like verse 31. And Israel served the Lord all the days of Joshua and all the days of the elders that overlived Joshua, and which had known all the works of the Lord that he had done for Israel. So those people that Joshua was speaking to, right? Not only did they follow Joshua his life, but those who was present to hear and see all these things, they followed them too, of that generation. And then later on, when you get a new generation that come up, it's a bit different. That's like how now, you know, we have a certain age, right? And then you get the younger generation that comes up. What they deal with is a bit different from us, right? They don't probably remember unless they go and do the research, like it tells you in Job 8:8, right? Search the former age. They now have their own customs and their own things that they got of this generation. They don't remember my generation when we had cassette tapes. They don't know cassette tapes. They don't know when you put your thing into the radio and all of a sudden you eat the tape and you got to bring it out and you got to wind it or you got to put it together. They don't know those things. They got a whole different thing. They just got downloads on MP3, right? Some of them don't even know CDs to a certain extent, right? So when you get a new generation that comes up and they don't remember the things of the past or are not given that insight, that's when things can go a little bit awry, right? But here it says, during Joshua's time and those that came after them, those leaders that was present to see these things, Israel was on point. Verse 32, and the bones of Joseph, which the children of Israel brought up out of Egypt, buried they in Shechem, in a parcel of ground which Jacob brought of the sons of Hamor, the father of Shechem, for 100 pieces of silver, and it became the inheritance of the children of Joseph. So this is a reminder when we go back to Genesis 50, when Joseph died in Egypt. Genesis chapter 50. And 24. Genesis chapter 50 and verse 24. So Genesis 50 and 24 says, and Joseph said unto his brethren, I die, and God will surely visit you and bring you out of this land unto the land which he sware to Abraham, to Isaac, and to Jacob. And Joseph took an oath of the children of Israel, saying, God will surely visit you, and ye shall carry up my bones from hence. So Joseph died being 110 years old, the same age as Joshua. And they embalmed him, and he was put in a coffin in Egypt. So that was the custom of the Egyptians, to embalm, just like how they do now, to put embalming fluid in you, right? That was not the custom of Israel. that we did that, but that's what they did, right? To kind of preserve you. Because remember, the Egyptians had this whole ideology of the afterlife. And you were mummified and you would carry on. So they did that. Now we read that they embalmed Joseph. And it's not a custom or practice that we did. But does that now make Joseph the father? Nah, Joseph's dead. He died, right? The spirit is gone. The body, the carcass is there. What they did with him and that was something that happened then. But they took his bones, his body from there, and then brought it to the land of Canaan, which will become the land of Israel, and buried him in the parcel of land that was bought for that tribe, right? And they put him there, not leaving him in Egypt, right? He wasn't an Egyptian. So they took his body out of there and brought it to what would be the promised land, his new homeland, right? Think of that. Consider that. Joseph's homeland didn't become his homeland until after he died. It didn't become his homeland until after he died, and his bones was now brought into the land by his people, right? But it was always promised to him to be his homeland. We just didn't occupy it at that time. All right, so now let's go back. Joshua chapter 24, and the last verse, verse 33. It says, and Eleazar, the son of Aaron, died. Man. And they buried him in a hill that pertained to Phinehas, his son, which was given him in Mount Ephraim, right? So the lot or the portion of land that Phinehas was given is where he now buried Eleazar, right? His pop. So now the traditions, not the traditions, but the storyline is now about to pick up, right? Not that it hadn't begun, but now here it is. We've been given the promised land. We've been given our lots, cities of refuge. We're given the priesthood, and everything is in order. Now we get into what happened. See, what happened was these guys came over and was talking to us and saying, ain't that big a deal. And then we just went over there and we sat and we had food. I was questioning what's in the bowl. Right? I was questioning it and look right, but it says when you in somebody's house, it's customary, you got it, and then it goes downhill from there. Con. All right, so that concludes today's Sabbath service lesson in the book of Joshua 23:24. Next week, the 10th, we'll be in Romans chapter 2 and 3. Romans chapter 2 and 3. Next Sunday evening is the new moon, which will signify the beginning of the year, the month of the year, right? The first month of now the new year will begin next Sunday night, the 11th. It's the 11th, meaning sure, I think it's the 11th. Not me. The 11th. And then 2 weeks after that, 25th, is the Pesach, right? So now for those who watching, don't get too caught up because we got, other camps of other brothers that we associate with that have had their Passover. This past week, we got some of them up even within who've had their Passover, right? The main thing for us is to the best of our ability to try to keep the Passover in its season according to Scripture. This is a rehearsal of that righteous acts, like it tells you in Judges 5 and 11. So much so that even in the law, the Most High has it where if the brother cannot keep the Passover in the first month, the Most High wants to keep it in the second month, right? Mm-hmm. So now you'll have brothers who have gone through it, had the 11 as a family, as a school and everything else, and then you may have one or two brothers who may not have been able to participate because either through uncleanness of death or what have you, they could not eat of the hallowed Seder meal. They got to wait until the next month and keep it. And they may have to just keep it by themselves in their own household, right? So don't get too caught up with, that camp did that and that camp did that. Because I think it was last week's class, Sister Michael Dawes was talking to somebody from another school, and it was like, oh, y'all keeping it that way because you following such and such. Sometimes we can get real vindictive or petty and just kind of start, we kind of used to always throwing out finger pointing instead of just really sitting down and trying to understand one another, right? Whether I may be, new into the game, or we're doing it because of certain research that we checked out, or what have you. And just say, okay, cool, I understand what you're doing, and probably try to give a little guidance and, some scriptures or precepts that kind of help us out, but not to always want to cut down somebody because it's different from what you may do on a different day, or they doing a new moon on a Sunday, but they doing it on Tuesday. Yo, what's going on? See, I knew these guys was all crazy. Nah, people just got to calm down and understand how we're still evolving. We're still building, right? Certain things that we probably knew and understood 15, 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 1 year ago. Now you're maturing in the spirit, and the Lord is showing us more things, right? More understanding and more chambers within some of these precepts are now coming out. And now we are elevating in the spirit. We don't want to stay stagnant. We want to elevate, right? The spirit wants us to reach perfection. In order to do that, we kind of grow and mature and make sure that we can draw as much milk out of the scriptures, much water out of the fountain as we can in order to nourish and sustain it. So that's just a reminder. Also, for you non-cooks, see if you can go get matzahs now while they're in the stores, because again, they just did the Passover. Esau and them just did the Passover. So it's in the shelves. You may find some there, and it might be at a good discount price because it's not, in the season. So it's kind of out of season, but you want to go and try to get a box or two just to have it. Everything else you can get, round the clock, whether it be horseradish and different things, lamb, you can get that, round the clock. But the matzahs sometimes are not always kept on the shelves because they know it's a seasonal type thing. Some stores will keep it all year round. Very far few in between, but there are some stores that do that. But on a surface, you want to just be cognizant to go and get that. Even for the wines, some, all liquor stores don't always carry the variety of kosher wine, right? Wine for the Passover. So if you can and you want to, go and try to find the wines that's been put out for the Pesach just pass and see if they still got them. They may want to get rid of them, sell them at a discounted price, get them, stock them up. I know the Wegmans is near me. They usually have kosher Passover wine all the time, right? Manischewitz, you can get anywhere there on here, so you ain't really got to worry. If you want kosher wine and you kind of say, they don't have, you got Manischewitz and you'll be good. Ariyah then Yawkanan.
I just wanted to read Colossians chapter 2, 16 to 17, just to back up what you said about the high holy day. Let no man therefore judge you in meat or in drink, or in respect of a holy day, or of the new moon, or of the Sabbath days. Verse 17, which are a shadow of things to come, but the body is of Christ. Always be keeping them law. Keep them law. Stay in them law.
Right. And I like to focus on that shadow of things to come because the Most High showed us in Hebrews a glimpse of what the shadow of things to come was. When we looked at how the Levites kept the priesthood with the tabernacle and the holiest of holies and all these different things, I'm pretty sure as they were doing that, they didn't have the immediate foreshadow to know and realize that that was just an example of the kingdoms. I mean, the Most High's realms tabernacle, how Yahushua went before him and did the offerings and did these things. The angels that we see, the seven spirits, they represent the menorah standing before the Most High on fire as a flame, right? So when you read that in Hebrews, you're like, wow, that's interesting. And then now it's like this is a makeshift of what is to come. So us keeping these high holy days from the time they were instituted became a makeshift of what it would evolve to. Like the Passover evolved to Yahushua, and then it's going to evolve into something else later on to come. But we still keep these things and apply them. And then as time goes on, when that time happens or it comes where now we can be given the light to show us what it really meant or what it manifested to, That's going to be beautiful. That's going to be the eye opener to be like, whoa, I really never understood that. I didn't look at it that way. We went to the temple and worshiped in the temple, but we the temple now? We the real temple? Oh, man. So that's how it's a shadow of things to come that have evolved over time. And there's a lot more to come. But here, what the brother just read, with the new moons and the Sabbath days, the high holy days, those are still a shadow of things to come. We still got more to learn about those things, about these things that we're keeping even right now, right? So that goes into the Most High's infinite wisdom and different chambers that he has that we still hasn't been revealed to us yet. But that's the patience that we have, right? That's that zeal that you should have to want to wait and see when these things are revealed to us. Yahweh Kanan. Oh, that's we're gonna determine that this weekend. Yeah, we'll make that decision this weekend. All right. So with that, we're gonna close out today's Sabbath service class. Most High's will, everybody was able to get the understanding. Again, as always, if you kind of missed something or was it clear or you kind of question on something, the darkness or this or that, write it down, and then bring it to the class, right? But if everything was Tawab, give all praise to the Most High in Christ. But knowledge, wisdom, and understanding, everything we say, everything we do, whatever it is, it tells you in 1 Corinthians, the 10th chapter, whatever you do in meat, drink, this, that, always do it to the glory of the Most High. You receive something, you get a good job, you get the praise the Most High for it. I don't care if you was really, you had to get down and do whatever it may be. It may seem that you did it, but it's the Most High that allowed you to do it. Always give all praise and honor and glory to the Most High, Yahweh Shah, for everything that we do in his name and his spirit. All right. So with that, I want to say Ashar Shabbat, happy Sabbath to the brothers and sisters. Most High's will, everyone's in good spirits. Enjoy the day wherever you are. If you're not going, you're going to be home, check out something informative, go and, read some documentaries, go and research, go and do it. There's a lot to do on a Most High's day, or just trying to build your spirit up, right? If you want to go out there and help the poor, you want to go out there and speak to people and do certain things, by all means do that, right? It's good to do good on the Sabbath day, not for your own pleasure, but for the betterment and upliftment of your people. With that, man, I'm surprised what the whole thing was about to die. With that, we'll do the closing prayers. And again, Shalom. Stay tuned. Somebody get the blinds. Barakatha Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai Asherah Nathanawa Par Yahagapin Thwara Aman La Yahweh Ba'Hashem Yahweh Shai Ath Yasha Allah. English translation: Blessed are you, Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, of the Most High, in the name of Christ, that gives to us the fruit of the vine. Thank you, so be it. To Yahweh, in the name of Yahweh Shai, with Israel. I madra upon you, all Jerusalem, stand and face Jerusalem. Yahweh, Ba'Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Baba Kushah, Shemai, Lanawa, Aitha, Yum Yun, Aitha, Shalak, Mayaka Allah, Waha Allah Hayim, Tazwadakim, La, Shemal Ayam, Barak, Rapah, Magun, Wahakaziyat, Bunya, Yasha Allah, Washalat, Lanawa, Rabium, Kakama, Rabium, Da'ai, Rabium, Bayana, Rabium, Sabalanwa, Rabium, Amawan, Rabium, Aqua, Rabium, Ahabium, Rabium, Agana, Rakhanaya, Wasalat, Ko, Kata Ayamnawa, Lahaakim, Wa Akwa, Wa Yasha'ala, Thum Yad, Wa Iwalam, Wa Hasham, Yahawashai, Sowada, Amun. English translation. Most High, in the name of Christ, please listen to us now, right now. Send Michael and the righteous powers of angels to watch over, bless, heal, protect, and make strong the children of Israel. And send to us much wisdom, much knowledge, much understanding, much patience, much faith, much brotherhood, much love, much spiritual protection, and forgive all our sins for the brothers and sisters in Israel, always and forever. In the name of Yahweh, thank you, so be it. Four corners prayer. Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Barak Nawa, Wayasha Allah, Wabat Yasaparim, Shema, Yasharallah, Yahweh, Allah Haynawa, Yahweh, Achad. English translation. Most High, in the name of Christ, bless us in Israel and the house of books or the schools that's scattered throughout. And Deuteronomy 6:4, hear, O Israel, the Lord our power is one power. With that, again, we'll say shalom, peace to the brothers and sisters, and the Shah Shabbat, happy Sabbath.